You know that moment when you're setting up a buffet for a wedding or a school lunch line, and you start wondering whether the food you're about to serve will stay hot enough without turning into a soggy mess. That's the kind of practical headache that makes you hesitate before you click Add to Cart on any food service equipment. You don't need a piece of machinery that just looks impressive on a spec sheet. You need something that slips into the flow of your kitchen, keeps the food at a safe temperature, and doesn't break the bank. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Cambro Ultra Camcart H-Series front-load food pan holding cabinet lands right in that middle ground. It's a single-compartment, heated carrier built from polyethylene, sized at roughly 26 inches deep, 18 inches wide and a little under 25 inches tall. In plain English, it's a box that you can slide a full-size food pan into from the front, turn the heat on, and walk away knowing the food stays in the HACCP-approved temperature zone. That's the promise, and the reality is a little more nuanced once you picture it in a real kitchen. Let's start with who actually benefits from a unit like this. If you run a catering operation that routinely transports large trays of hot entrees, think pulled pork for a church fundraiser, a chili bar for a corporate event, or a steady stream of pasta for a college cafeteria, the front-load design is a time-saver. You can load the pan while it's still on the prep line, push the cabinet onto a service cart, and the heat source does the rest. The fact that it's a single compartment means you're not juggling multiple temperature zones, which simplifies cleaning and reduces the chance of cross-contamination. For businesses that need to stay HACCP compliant, that built-in compliance is a real advantage because you're not forced to buy an extra thermometer or separate warming unit. On the other side of the ledger, if you're a home chef who occasionally hosts a dinner party, or a food truck operator who needs to keep a few different sauces at distinct temperatures, the single compartment layout might feel restrictive. You'd have to swap pans in and out, which defeats the set-it-and-forget-it convenience the Camcart advertises. Likewise, if you're looking for a compact solution to fit under a prep table, the external dimensions push close to a foot wide and a little over 2 feet tall, not exactly a stealthy addition to a cramped kitchen. Now, about the practical strengths. The front-load door is genuinely easier to work with than a top-load lid in a busy service environment. You don't have to wrestle a heavy pan over a hinged lid, you just slide it in, lock the door, and the heating element does its job. The polyethylene shell is non-porous, so spills wipe clean with a damp cloth, and the material resists the kind of denting you see on thinner metal carriers after a few bumps in transit. In real-world terms, that translates to less downtime for cleaning and fewer surprise repairs when you're rushing between service windows. Another plus is the consistent heat retention. While Cambro doesn't publish a specific temperature range in the brief I've seen, the Heated Ultra branding is meant to keep food above the 135°F safe hold threshold. In a test run I imagined for a local bakery that needed to keep a large sheet of cinnamon rolls warm for a morning rush, the cabinet would hold enough heat to keep the rolls soft for at least an hour without a noticeable drop in temperature. That's the kind of reliability that prevents you from having to reheat items mid-service, which can compromise texture and flavor. But there are trade-offs you need to weigh. The unit's single compartment means you lose the flexibility to keep a hot main dish and a side at 2 different temperatures. If you need that kind of separation, you'll end up buying a second cabinet or supplementing with a separate warmer, which eats into the cost advantage. Also, the heating element is built into the cabinet's walls, so you can't adjust the exact temperature, you either have it on or off. In situations where you need a gentle warm versus a more aggressive hold, you're left hoping the default setting aligns with your dish. Pricing is another hidden factor. Cambro gear is known for durability, and the polyethylene construction is a long-term investment, but the upfront cost is higher than a basic insulated food carrier that relies on external heat sources. If your operation runs high-volume events weekly, the durability and compliance may pay off quickly. If you're only pulling this out once a month, the return on investment shrinks, and a cheaper option might make more sense. A subtle point that often goes unnoticed is the cabinet's footprint on your service line. Because it's front-load, you can slide it under a standard service cart without raising the cart's height significantly. That,